Welcome back to Bachelor Happy Hour. I'm Joe.
And I'm Serena.
And we are here with the Bachelor himself, Grant Ellis. Grant, welcome.
What's going on, y'all? How you guys doing this afternoon?
We're doing
good.
great.
We're good. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Had a busy day, getting ready to head out soon for a flight, so I'm happy to talk to y'all.
Where are you flying to?
Going to New York. We're doing a little wishes granted promo, so that's going to be really fun.
Nice. You were out here for the premiere, correct?
What do you mean
Yes, I
correct? We
was.
saw him. We were with
Yeah.
him.
That's
We
true.
were out
Imagine
there
he was
together.
like incorrect. Like
I'm just straight off the script. You were. So what did you do for the premiere?
No, I was out there with you guys. I had a lot of fun too. It was a good time.
it was. How was that? How did you feel now kind of looking back on that night?
It's surreal, you know. It happened so fast, but you know, I really appreciate a little party and like being able to watch it at a nice watch party. It definitely changes the atmosphere a lot. It's fun. It's a lot cool. It's much more fun.
Is it what you expected? Watching
Yeah,
it back?
honestly, you know, it's what I expected, you know. But it's always different watching it live. It's always different.
That is actually very true. Yeah. Well, it was fun to be there. It was also fun to have Charity there because she was just watching you. I was sitting next to her and she was looking at you just being like, God, I know exactly how he's feeling right now, having done this before too. So
Right. It was good having her there. Somebody who's done it before and watched himself back. It's different when you're like the lead. Oh man, it's a lot more cringe. There's a lot more cringe going on when you're doing it.
a lot more cringe. No, it was great.
Let's jump to your night one. How are you feeling going into night one? How did you prepare for that night?
Yeah, night one always nerve-wracking, right? It's always a nervous time. But you know, I just told myself I'm just gonna be myself. And whoever the person I am is gonna show through on screen. And I feel like it did that. And I feel like the ladies really made it easier for me because they were a lot of fun too.
Were there any entrances that stood out to you, even if it wasn't like a love connection, but like a gimmick or something that you really remember?
Yeah, definitely Alex's, right? And then Radhika's, she had me doing a little dance. Uh Juliana stood out. There were a lot of entrances that really stood out. Serafina stood out because she had the poster of the big head. So
Big head.
there's a lot that stood out. I like the girl's sense of humor.
What did you think about the T-shirt gun? How did that come across?
That was a little forward, but it definitely came across like somebody who was intentional. And I'm just happy nobody got hit because that could
Me too. I've actually been thinking about that as I see clips of that entrance come up. I'm like, I feel like this was not enough of a concern that like imagine this just took out one of the girls. Like you guys got so lucky that you didn't absolutely whack someone with a t-shirt.
it was a safety hazard. I've been to some like NBA games where they shot the guns off and like those things hit pretty hard. So
Yeah, they're meant to go really far. Grant's like, oh, so that was that paperwork I signed before Zoe came out of the limo.
that's what that was right there.
Are you at all surprised watching it back, kind of seeing Zoe involved in a lot of the drama with the girls? Is that something that, or were you kind of privy to that when it was going on?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. You know, I definitely had an inclination of that behind the scenes. But I think that Zoe is somebody who, you know, she's misunderstood at a certain points, and I think the journey for me was a lot about pushing these women and opening up, and me finding my person. And in the process of that, you know, it causes you to, especially when you start to care for people, it causes you to try to push people to do better or to be different.
Yeah.
Did you set any intentions or boundaries with yourself when it came to drama with the ladies, if that was going to kind of be like an immediate red flag, or did you go into it with any like, if this happens, I'm going to do this, or were you kind of just being fluid and taking every situation as it came?
Yeah, I'm not really a drama guy. Like I really like to shy away from that, or not shy away from that, but I avoid conflict at all costs. You know, conflict for me is a final resort. But at sometimes you have to stand up for yourself. You definitely have to stand up for yourself. And I think the approach I took was if somebody was starting the drama, but if somebody was involved and they were defending themselves, then you know you got to do what you got to do. So
Yeah.
I think the hard part is just figuring out what's going on behind the scenes when you don't see everything. So
Is that something that you wanted to know? Like, were you hoping to gather as much information about what was going on in the house as possible? Or were you like, I think I'd rather stay like ignorant to that and just deal with what's in front of me?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, how much effort were you putting into like figuring out what was going on?
I think that the group dates give the most clues on who started the drama because you could tell when the other women don't like somebody. And it could be because they just don't like them. But if there's a consensus in the house and most of, it's leaning towards one way, you could start to gather evidence. But you always have to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. So I tried to do that as much as possible with the little amount of time I had. But yeah, I mean that was kind of my goal. I kind of used the group dates to see, okay, like this is how they're acting and how is this person acting in a group setting? Are they comfortable people? Are they a likable person? I tried to figure that out, and yeah, that's basically it.
Are
Yeah.
you okay with somebody not being able to get along in group settings, but also like you get along with that person? Like Zoe, for instance, like you're getting along with her great, and it seems like you guys both really like each other. She doesn't necessarily get along with the other girls in group settings. Is that an issue for you?
I mean, I would like to consider myself a pretty likable guy, especially if I got a couple drinks going. I like to be the life of the party, like to have fun. So if my partner, when they walk in, they're like, "Oh, there's Grant. Oh, there's somebody else." I would kind of ruin the mood, but there's always gonna be people that don't like you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what you do. So you just got to find a common ground. If it's something that reoccurs a lot, and like, okay, why do people not like this person? There might be a reason, but if some people are just not gonna like you for breathing. So you got to just figure out the balance.
Yeah. Zoe did come in hot on that first group date by pulling you all the way up to the rooftop. Did that catch you off guard?
I mean, yeah, it definitely caught me off guard. Being in the position as a lead, I think that it's wrong to like stop somebody from stealing. I've never seen anybody do that before. So I think that's part of the game, and it gets you more time. There's a way you do it. There's a way you don't do it, but it caught me off guard. I remember when I was on Gen Season, I tried to avoid doing that. But being the lead, I gave everybody a chance to like show me who they were, and that was just a part of the process.
Yeah.
This
You've
was
had a
the-
couple hard, like, I don't want to call them hard tests, but like you've had to navigate a lot early on with the women and kind of these different personalities and all their various approaches to the relationship with you and the dynamic in the house. And so far you're doing a really good job.
Well, we'll see. We'll see because it definitely gets hard, especially when like, because everybody's trying to garner your attention or have your attention, and they'll do some things that normally maybe in the normal world you'd be like, like maybe just relax. But in this setting, it's like you kind of have to see where everybody lies. So it's not everything goes, but you have to let a lot of things play out,
Right.
and then it causes it may get a little sticky sometimes.
This was the first time we've seen where the person that gets the first impression rose also gets the first one-on-one, and we see you give that to Alex. Just kind of like, did that weigh heavier on you, knowing that this was also the person that would get the first one-on-one, and why did you choose Alex?
It didn't weigh any heavier on me because I know that there's a certain amount of one-on-ones that go into the season. I know it's important, but I kind of was just taking it one day at a time. I wasn't thinking about the severity of the one-on-ones. I was just trying to build a connection and have fun. So I wasn't thinking about it like that. And Alex got the first impression rose because we had fun. We had, there's the start of a relationship. Sometimes you have that sense of humor. Now from there it has to grow, but the initial foundation could be that. And I saw that there. And I think that she was somebody that I got along with really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
To make planning the perfect beach vacation easier, Beachbound launched the Perfect Beach Finder quiz.
Living up to its reputation.
Whether you need care,
The group date where you and Carol.
visit them today in Egan, Woodbury, or Vadnais Heights.
Let's talk a little bit about the group date where you and Carolina are dancing on stage. That's episode 2, right?
Yes.
That's episode 2. Because then that kind of leads into some of the drama that went down episode 3 with Carolina and Rose. But just, I don't know, touch on your relationship at this point with Carolina, because we do see she eventually ends up getting a one-on-one date as well.
Yeah, my relationship with Carolina at that point, I really liked our first interaction. I really liked Carolina's personality. And obviously she's a very pretty woman. She's beautiful, but I liked her personality. And I liked our banter. She didn't take things too seriously. And yeah, that led to, especially on the group date with Mario, I liked the way she kind of held her own. She had some rhythm. She had fun with it. And I liked that. And it was really something that I felt like she matched my energy. So that's why, it led to us dancing on stage and her, and that group, me giving her the prize for that group, which would be, I don't know, a dance on stage.
And how do you feel, it's one thing to make out with a girl with just the cameras, but like when you're making out with somebody and then the rest of the women that are also trying to date you are kind of standing there, how does that feel?
I think that, Carolina went for it and I went for it as well. I think that was something that it was a little different when there's people watching, but being in that moment, you're kind of in the moment and things happen, So I understand it was a little bit awkward for the other ladies, but that was the moment that we had and that's the way that things went.
All right. So then I got to ask you, were you thinking about Rose in that moment?
No, that's the thing. I think there was a big miscommunication there. And, I would never tell somebody that I was thinking about them while I was with somebody else, especially.
Yeah, you don't strike me. It doesn't seem like you would do that. And I just don't see you like that's like that would be a massive error at the beginning of your season. So you don't strike me as a person that would do that, but
and
if we ran the tape back of that conversation between you and Rose, is there anything you can think of like, I was saying this and maybe she interpreted it like this? Any like ability to pinpoint where the confusion stemmed from?
Yeah, I think I could pinpoint exactly where it stemmed from. And, going into that afternoon setting, I had just been on stage and I went in there and things were awkward. So I was trying to really reassure the woman that I noticed them.
Did you feel that when you went to the night portion that things were off?
Oh yeah, I definitely felt it. Like I definitely felt the eyeballs in the room. And I really wanted to figure out what's going on, but I could pinpoint it. I think that, we had several times we danced. We danced in the beginning with the lady from the Pussycat Dolls. We were all on stage, and when Rose was there, she was right next to me and she's somebody I had my eyes on. But when I was dancing with Carolina, I was fully present in that moment. So somewhere through the grapevine, things got misconstrued. And yeah, at that point, I kind of had to defend myself a little bit because I tried to come into this journey, be really intentional with my words and with what I said. And when I did make mistakes, I owned them. So when that happened, I kind of was really taken back by it. And, I had to really defend myself because I know that's something I wouldn't say.
Yeah. So it sounds like your messaging to Rose was more along the lines of like, when I was dancing with you, I was thinking of you. And when I was dancing with Carolina, I was thinking of her. And like your intention is to be present with the woman that is in front of you.
Right. And that I noticed Rose, and even prior to that, when we were practicing our dances, like I noticed her, but when I gave the quote unquote prize to Carolina, I was there with her. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of let the woman know that I was focusing on each one of them individually. And I think there was a little bit of, I don't know, I don't know what got in the way there, but that was definitely a message that I wasn't trying to put across.
You decided to give Rose your last rose of the evening. Why did you keep her around and not let her go after that situation?
Just because I think everybody deserves a chance, even though I was really hurt by the situation, I felt like, people were questioning my character. I feel like she at least deserved the chance to stay around, and maybe she really didn't hear what I said, or maybe she really misunderstood what I said.
She did own it too.
And I just decided, what happened?
She did own it too. It's like she
owned it. Yeah. And I think that, if I made a mistake, I would own it. And I think that during the, I kind of took responsibility, even though I knew I wasn't in the wrong. I kind of took responsibility for that and said, I got to watch what I say, because it's easy. It's really difficult. When you're dating multiple people, it's my first time doing it. People, feelings are gonna get, things are gonna get a little sticky. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of grace there, and I just feel like she deserved another chance.
Yeah. Rose obviously made a mistake here. No doubt about it. And I think it's great that you were able to kind of show forgiveness. Do you think that you can really trust her moving forward? Like, do you think that trust can be rebuilt? And does it make you kind of nervous moving forward about how your words could be twisted by Rose or other women in the house again?
100%. I will say that, after something like that happens, you're a lot more reserved on what you say, because any little thing that you say can get twisted. Not intentionally, just that's the way things, when there's feelings involved, that's the way that things happen, I assume. And everybody's different. And, it's really hard to rebuild a relationship in the short amount of time that you have. When something happens, it's really hard. And it's not like you're working on just building a relationship with one person. So that's even less time. So yeah, I will say that we really try, and I think that Rose is sweet. She's amazing, and I think that, we just have to see how everything happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's pretty early on, but you do give Beverly a one-on-one date, and then it never happens. She gets sick and goes home. Does that throw you off at all? Because it's early, but you had to at least like her a little bit to choose her for a one-on-one.
Yeah, that's something that definitely threw me off some. Beverly was a connection that was forming, and you realize how fragile, the journey is. And, relationships in itself are fragile until you build up a lot of trust. But this one little thing, somebody getting sick or a word said or something, it could just twist the whole way things could have went. So
Yeah.
it was something that was really disappointing. But, I'm glad that she was better, because it was something that could have really affected her. And I just focused on the ladies that were left.
Did they tell you what happened? Like, did they tell you, hey, she's having her appendix removed in
Yeah,
an emergency surgery?
I was like, yeah, that's something that she needs to handle, because she needs to handle that.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh man,
Yeah.
why isn't she here? That would have, yeah, she definitely needed to get that taken care of.
Oh, 100%.
1,000.
There's no option,
Yeah,
either she gets to take care of her or
Or
burst,
burst, yeah,
There's
that was an emergency for sure.
So then you choose 3 women for a group date, which, kind of makes it seem like those 3 women
are on your radar.
Yeah.
We see Latia, Serafina, and Dina. How did you make the selection of the 3 of them go on the day portion and then Latia getting the night portion?
Yeah, I just went on based off of who I thought would be best in that setting. I wanted to see, because Dina's very type A, I wanted to see how she would interact around the dogs. Serafina had a really bubbly personality. I wanted to get to know her better. And Latia and I had just formed a connection, so I wanted to see if we could further that and see how she would act around, animals, because, that's something that's a step, below kids. So, I think that would have been a good setting. And then, I picked Latia just because of the way she was and our connection at that point. It was further ahead.
Was it awkward at all? We were saying, I think this is like the smallest group date we've ever seen, it being only 3 people. Was it uncomfortable at times, or were you guys able to navigate it where it felt kind of fun?
I feel like that would be easier.
It looked really comfortable.
It's a lot easier because
really? Okay, yeah.
when there's
I guess I'm just mentally comparing it to a 2-on-1, which always is really uncomfortable, but I guess there's not that pressure of like 1 stays and 2 go.
Right. There's not that pressure. And then when there's 7 or 6 women, it's like, you don't want to keep eye contact here for too long, because when there's 3, you could kind of divide your time and say, okay, maybe I'm going to spend some time here, spend some time there. 7 is just a lot,
Right.
3,
And I guess the competitive energy is lower because they're like, well, we're all going to get time. So,
Right.
if he's off washing the dogs with Dina, no biggie. I'll have my time in a little bit.
Exactly. And I think that's the vibe that was there. It wasn't too competitive, but it was good to where we all got along, and then the dogs helped. The dogs didn't hurt.
Yeah.
How other people feel. So even the first rose ceremony, second,
What's that like?
Listen, it was a struggle for me every week.
Is getting sent home every week. I know it gets harder every single week. We just finished week 3. How has it been deciding who is getting sent home every week? I know it gets harder every single week, but are you still kind of at the point where you're like, it's clear? Are we struggling? What's that like?
Listen, it was a struggle for me every week, honestly. Even you saw, like, I'm an empath, so I feel for people, and sometimes it leads me to make decisions based upon how other people feel. So even the first rose ceremony, second rose ceremony, when I saw Ella crying, like I felt really bad, and but it's something that it has to be done. So I just try to keep in my mind, I'm trying to find my person, and this is the way it goes, and yeah, I may have been a little naive, you know what I'm saying? Like just because, I know that this is what needs to be done, but I felt bad about it, and it becomes harder. It only becomes harder.
We see, stepping a little bit outside the show, we see that you release a song on Spotify,
Party Girls,
which
Yeah,
I feel like the audience may have a mixed reaction to. A, the song's called Party Girls, and B, there is a lot of stigma around people that do go on this show. And I feel like music is the one instance where everyone's like, oh, they're just here for their music career. How would you respond to all that?
Yeah, I think I think that it's possible to, look for love and have interests. Maybe the timing wasn't the best. I thought, night one is like a party. It's just my vibe. I'm somebody who just likes to have fun. I'm creative, and that's just me. So it's not like I'm there for the wrong reasons. I think people throw that around so much. I think you could have both. If you like to paint, you could be on the show and paint. If you like to do karaoke, I just is something
part of who you are.
I went on the show, and all of a sudden I'm on stage with Mario. I think that's something that is, I think music is something that's really fun. I'm not saying I'm going to be doing that, but I feel like it was just something I had fun with, and maybe I could have worked on the timing a little
I like
better.
what you said, that you can be looking for love and have passions and interests that you're pursuing at the same time. Are you pursuing a music career? Is that a goal or intention of yours?
No, it's not a goal or intention of mine at all. I think that I'm really happy with what I do for work. I do like karaoke, and, getting in the studio and making a song, if I think that it's, I always like to push myself or test myself, whether it's like boxing or even in trading, or, just certain arts to see, or playing piano, or trying to learn a new language or learn an instrument. I think it's something I always try to do. So I'm not pursuing a music career. I'm not going to be dropping singles, but I think that the song fit the night, and I thought it was like, it's a big party. So I thought, it would have been really, if the song was terrible, I thought I would have got reamed out, but I thought it was okay, but I won't, you guys don't have to worry about me dropping any
No more singles from Grant?
No more singles. I won't be dropping any more singles.
Okay, so we're three episodes in. What, and you're obviously watching it back, what has been the most surprising element of the show, or anything that's happened to you so far?
And there's a lot of things. Obviously, not that I was surprised, but I was really happy with how great the ladies were. And then too, watching it back and seeing everything that happens that you don't see. And there's such a short amount of time you have to make the decisions that you have to make, and they're so judged and they're weighed upon. So yeah, just seeing the dynamic that was happening in the house when I wasn't there. And I think that the thoughts that I were having about the ladies, I think that they're unfolding. I think everybody is the way that they were when we were.
Okay, so there's no like woman that you're like, oh, I'm shocked to see you act like this.
No, there's none that I'm shocked with. There's none that I'm shocked with, and I think everybody stayed true to themselves.
That's good. That's got to be a good feeling. I feel like that's not always the case.
the season's not over yet, so we got.
That's true. There's still a lot to come.
I mean, so far
still a lot.
the drama that has been brought to your attention, we mentioned in our recap that, I mean, I feel like I would handle it the same way you're handling it. I think you're doing a really good job of just kind of like, you know, hitting it on the head right away, like what's going on. Are you happy about that approach, and do you kind of carry that on for the rest of the season?
Yeah, when something, especially in my life, I confront things like right then and there, because if you don't, you let it festers and then it turns into something way bigger. I tried to go in there and do the best I could to not be a part of any drama, but it just so happened the drama involved me and or something that that somebody thought I said. So that was really surprising to me. That was like a curveball, and that was probably like my worst nightmare happening. And it happened, so I had to approach it right then and there, because if I just ignored it, then you know, the ladies would have really started to question my character. And that's the last thing I wanted, because I pride myself on that. So just that was something to me that was a difficult situation, but I handled it the best way I could.
Yeah. I want to ask you something that Joe and I were talking about during our recap, because in this episode, we see you navigate a situation where Zoe comes to you and kind of says, hey, there's some stuff going on in the house, but she doesn't give any names. And then on the flip side, we see Carolina come to you and talk about what Rose said, and like you kind of have to pry it out of her. You have to give a couple guesses, but you eventually get there. What is your preference? Like we were like, what's the right way to do this? Like, do you tell the lead who said what? Do you give names? Do you not give names?
In my opinion, if you're gonna do it, then do it all the way. Like if you're gonna come to you with information, then I want all of the information.
But we're also coming from a viewer's perspective, right? Like we haven't been in your shoes.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I feel like typically in my life, if somebody said something, I'm gonna approach the person specifically. But since I'm like the buffer, but the lead is the buffer in between, I think if you're gonna come and say that, then you can't leave them like, well, so this and this said this, and just figure it out.
Yeah,
that's maybe you could, but then again, on the flip side, to play devil's advocate, it's like it's a little messy if you're like so and so said this and I don't like, so that's like a really delicate situation.
It is, because when girls come to you and say like, hey, this is going on, I feel like we see it, and even if you're not saying it in your head, your first question is probably like, well, who? Like, who did that? Who said that? But then at the same time, when you have the information of who, it gets you kind of have to get involved now. You have a sense of like accountability with the situation.
I think the best way to go about it, like if I could rewind the clock, it would be somebody comes to me, said, there's something happening in the house. I'm uncomfortable with the situation. I'm just letting you know. And then it would be up to me to sit all the ladies down and approach it. Listen, there's some things happening. That's my first thing. And then if it continues to happen, then you tell me who it was. But the first action would be she tells me, doesn't tell me any names, and then it would be up for me to sit everybody down and to say, okay, like there's something going on. Can somebody tell me who it is? I would like to know what's going on, and then that way they could tell me. And then if they don't tell me and it continues, then I know that's a bad situation.
It's giving Principal Grant of the Bachelor Academy.
I mean, were you expecting it? Were you expecting it going in that you were going to have to kind of like be mediating a lot of situations between different women?
I was so naive going in. I'm like, we're all going to have fun and I'm going to get to know these women and I'm going to try to, if there's a situation, I didn't expect that. Like I knew there was going to be something, but I didn't think that it would involve something I said or something that they thought I said. I didn't think that. That was like a 360 flip the switch on me, because I didn't know. And then it really dampened a lot of my relationships in the house because people start to question me.
We know how this drama has affected your relationship with Rose, obviously. How did it affect your relationship with Carolina?
It affected my relationship with Rose and Carolina, because at that point I was like, why are you guys talking about things that are being said behind my back, or like behind, or to each other? It's like I'm not gonna say, for me, I wouldn't have handled it that way.
Yeah.
That's all. And then I wouldn't have handled it that way. And I need somebody that's gonna handle the situation the way I, see things similar to me. So it definitely was it definitely let off some alarms there, but then I still needed to process it and figure out what I was gonna do because it could have just been miscommunication, there's always that aspect.
Did Joey, the last Bachelor, give you any advice going in?
Yeah, not going in. He gave me he gave me some good advice, which was just, you have to stay true to yourself, and the person that you're with is going to be watching it back one day. So just move with respect. And I definitely did that. My season was definitely a lot different than his season, in terms of the drama. So I had to try to figure out how to navigate that myself. So that was something that was difficult.
So watching it back, what have been some of your favorite moments to either relive or see for the first time?
Just my personality. I love to have fun. I thought the R&B date was definitely was cringy, but I had fun. I thought it was really fun. I thought the basketball date was really fun. Seeing the ladies do something that they typically don't do and just put themselves out there. It showed me who really wanted to be there, and I think they all did a
If
good
you
job.
were to put money on it, if you were going to bet again for any of the women playing basketball, who's the best player?
A great question. Honestly, Chloe was the best
Really?
player. Chloe, she is, yeah, she's tall. She has a really good layup package. She was doing left hand, right hand, so she was all right.
Get it, Chloe. Okay,
Yeah.
before we let you go, what episode were you most excited to watch back between 1, 2, and 3?
One
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
One,
that
that's
checks out.
iconic. Night one, excited.
So
to watch
iconic.
that.
And also just light. Like you can really enjoy, I feel like, every
Yeah,
moment.
that's the night where there's no
No stress.
like it's just night one. There's no there's expectations, but there's nothing before that happens. So you're just
Yeah.
free to do
It's
whatever.
magic. Joe and I love night 1 episodes. If you could describe your season in one word, what would it be?
Roller coaster.
And I feel like there's been a tone here of like there's a lot to come, so I'm bracing myself. And then last question is there anything you can tease for us for next week's episode, which will be episode number 4?
Next week's episode, what was that? Oh yeah, next week's episode 4 is definitely it's gonna involve a really beautiful location, and it's gonna be romantic, and hopefully the drama dies down.
It's going to be a roller coaster.
It's gonna be a roller coaster.
Well, Grant, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and hopping on Bachelor Happy Hour.
Yeah, have a safe flight to New York. Thanks for making the time. And stay tuned for more episodes of Grant's season of The Bachelor. And be sure to tune in to our exclusive recaps and interviews on Bachelor Happy Hour. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me, guys.